Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is Jess and we are here to do the mid-year freak out book tag. This is going to be my mid-year freak out tag. I cannot believe we're halfway through the year and I have almost hit my yearly goal for the amount of books I wanted to read this year. I am surprised, especially with how crazy this year has been already, and we have a lot of books to talk about. There have been some releases, well, most releases I haven't been able to get my hands on, especially because I've had quite a difficult year myself. However, I have read so much that I have a lot to discuss regarding these books. So let's get on to the questions. First of all, number one is the best book I've read in 2021 so far. I do not own this book. I actually borrowed this book from the library. It was part of my Buzzword readathon book and it was called Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. It wasn't new out this year, it was just a first time read for myself. And it is by far the best book I have personally ever read. I do not own a copy. I am hoping to go shopping with my sister soon and go and find myself. I want a hardback cover of this book because it is one I'm going to want to read over and over again, and I just think that'd be a bit sturdier. It's a fantastic book. It's got Greek mythology, not too much, but enough so you kind of understand where it's coming from. It is a male-to-male romance and it is fantastic. I bawled my eyes out. It is an emotional roller coaster. Question number two is the best sequel I have read in 2021 so far. Now, I do not read many series. I'm not against series and I don't necessarily look for them. It's just not something I read a lot of. I'm out of breath from running up the stairs. Whew. So I think it's the only sequel I've read this year so far, and that's Dearly Devoted Dexter by Jeff Lindsay, the second book in the Dexter series, and this was also a reread. I gave this 4 stars, so it's kind of the best anyway that I would have read possibly. I love the Dexter series, I love the books, I love the show, and I am obsessed with the fact that there is a new season coming out the end of this year. It is going to make my year. So this is the best sequel. This is following the first book. The books are very different to the show. If you are a fan of the show, I do still recommend the books, but try to kind of separate them a little bit. This book, we are following Dexter trying to catch the killer who is committing murders by, no, he's not even murdering them, he is chopping up bodies so that they become living vegetables. They're just like a sitting potato, they can't speak, they can't even close their eyes. So that is the premises of this book, and it is gruesome and it is a lot more disgusting if you're a visual person, if you really imagine the scene, which I am. So it was very grim for me, but I still gave it 4 stars. The writing's fantastic. Dexter as a character is always fantastic. I really love it. So question number 3 is new releases that have come out in the year of 2021 that you haven't read yet but want to. And I am filming this after I've picked up 2 of these books because I wrote down my answers before I had these books. So one of them being my most anticipated of the year, which is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. However, that book and Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid I wasn't really going to include because I am filming a separate video on reading my most anticipated, so that will be included in that one anyway. But I just thought I'd mention those were the 2 I was most excited about this year, and now I'm reading them, so don't know if it counts, not sure there. Anyway, the other 2 books I have noted down is Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson, because Peter Swanson is my all-time favourite author. and I don't know if I can say that. I think I've read 3 of his books. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are between favourite authors. However, Peter Swanson has never disappointed me for any of the books I've read of his. Not one of them has come below a 5 out of 5 for me. So he wrote Every Vow You Break, which is out this year, is already out, and I am very excited to read that. Throughout the booktube community, it hasn't been hyped that much, or it's been talked about like in a very negative way, that has been a very disappointing read. However, I'm not going to let that sway me from wanting to read this book. The other book is Project Hail Mary, I believe it's called, by Andy Weir. The only other book I have read by him is The Martian. I read that for Buzzwordathon again, and I did expect to give that a 5 out of 5, but I didn't. I think I just wasn't in the right space for it. It's a fantastic book. It is so amazingly written, so intelligent, and it's about a guy that gets stranded on Mars and him trying to stay alive and communicate to let Earth know that he is still alive. Anyway, Project Hail Mary, not sure what it's about. I believe it is another astronaut space kind of story, and I love space and I love stories about space, so I'm very interested. And then Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. I don't need to know anything apart from the fact that Peter Swanson wrote it. Question number 4 is my most anticipated releases for the second half of the year, which I have 3 main ones that I am most excited about, but there are a couple of other books that I would be interested in purchasing if I was able to. So first of all is Act Cool by Tobley McSmith, and Tobley McSmith wrote Stay Gold, which I have here. So this is Stay Gold, and one of my most anticipated is his next book, which is called Act Cool. I'm not sure if we know what the cover looks like yet. If we do, I'll put it up on the screen so you can take a look. If not, then we don't know yet. However, I do believe it's another story regarding a trans person, but I'm not sure again. So I think as soon as I just see a certain author releasing a book, that is enough for me. The same with the next book is For Your Own Good by Samantha Downing. I'll put the picture up because I do know that that cover has been released. I don't know if that book is out yet. If I can find the date, I'll also put the date on the screen. But Samantha Downing, I've only read 1 out of 2 of her other books. However, I really want to read her first book. The book I've read by her was called He Started It, and it was a 5 out of 5. It was so good, and the ending was just so surprising. A truly amazing writer. So really looking forward to her next book. And then the other one is called Darling by Kay Ancrum. Again, just because of the author, and I've always been interested in anything Kay Ancrum writes. I just want to read personally. And then there's Survive the Night by Riley Sager, who is a thriller author that is really hyped on BookTube. I haven't read a single book of his yet. I do own one, so I'll try and get round to that at some point this year. And then we also have How to Kill Your Best Friend by Lexi Elliott. I just love the title. Like, that is enough for me to think, I'm interested. What is this book gonna tell us? So those are some new releases. I don't know about a lot of new releases that I'm really interested in, so there's a couple there for us to look out for. Question number 5 is my biggest disappointments I have read this year so far, and I have a couple of disappointments actually. The first one I thought of was The Opposite of Always by Justin Reynolds. I expected this to be either light-hearted or just to enjoy it a bit more, maybe a bit more romance. I don't know exactly what I expected. It was so repetitive. I was so bored. I found the main character to be way too over dramatic, over emotional, a little bit whiny. I just did not get on with that book. So it's someone who falls in love after meeting this girl at a college party, and I think it's like 4 months he knows her for before she dies. However, he keeps reliving these months over and over again until he gets it right. I'm not the biggest fan of time travel anyway. I don't mind a little bit, but it was just boring for me. The next one was My Sister the Serial Killer by, oh gosh, I'm not sure how to say the author's name. There'll be a picture up, so again you can see which book I'm referring to. I listened to this book and I'm really glad I didn't purchase a copy, because again, this was very, like, this was talked about so much in such a positive way, and so many people were saying that they loved it. I was disappointed is the right word. Our main character is someone that looks after her sister and literally clings up after her murders, and she always backs her up. She's always kind of hiding things for her, and her sister isn't likable at all. And I just feel like there's no justice. No one ends up happy. It's just an endless cycle. It was just a big disappointment for myself when I really like kind of murder serial killer type books. Question number 6 is biggest surprise I have read this year so far. That was easy for me. They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. Now, the cover pretty much tells you what is going to happen. They're both going to die. This book is such an interesting concept. You get a phone call from Deathcast to tell you you are going to die within the next 24 hours, and you are supposed to live these next 24 hours to the fullest. So they can't tell you how they're going to die, how you're going to die. They can't tell you when, anything like that. They just know that it's within the next 24 hours. So you get this call and you get to live your life as to the best you can before you're going to die. There's this app, and it's a bit like similar to a dating app, but it's called the Last Friend app, where you could go on and you can meet someone who maybe is also dying, or you can meet someone that just wants to help give you that wonderful last day, just be that last friend for you. So it's called a decker. A decker is someone that is about to die, and they have Make a Moment, a bit like the Make-A-Wish Foundation, where you go and experience something that you might have wanted to do and haven't been able to, like swim with sharks, go on a hot air balloon ride, but it's all simulation. And we follow these two characters that have had the call from Deathcast, and we follow their final 24 hours. I loved this book so much. 5 out of 5 very easily. Question number 7 is a new favourite author, and it could be just new to you, or it could be that they've released their debut and they're your new favourite. So it's just a new favourite you have found this year. For me, that again is very, very easy. Taylor Jenkins Reid is now my all-time favourite author, along with Peter Swanson. I've read 2 books by her, and honestly, I just want to read anything she ever writes. I want to go back and read all the books she's written that I don't have. She is, to me, truly remarkable writer. So she's a new favourite, but I also love Kate Ancrum, as I've said before, Samantha Downing. I also love Bridget Collins. I've read 2 of her books and love them both. Although they weren't 5 stars, I just think her writing style is really fun. Question number 8 is new fictional crush, and I found this one quite hard. The only person I could say I crushed on a little bit while reading a book was Georgina in Stay Gold. I found her, at times she was a little bit frustrating, but overall I think I would happily have her as my girlfriend. And then there was Rooney in Loveless by Alice Osman. However, less crushing and more feel like she is a fictional character that represents myself, so maybe not so much. Question number 9 is your newest favourite characters. So, or character it says, but I have a few. So number 1 is Patroclus from the Song of Achilles, because I cannot tell you how much I love this book anyway. But him as a character was so mature, so understanding, so warm and breathtaking, and he was just everything I want in a character. He was perfection to me. I love Patroclus. I cannot say that there's been a character I love as much as him. So yes, hands down, he's the best. Then I did read House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune this year, and a character called Lucy in this is an all-time favourite character. Lucy is fantastic. Lucy is supposed to be Lucifer, the child to the devil. However, he is one of the kindest kids you'll ever meet, yet you don't expect it. His character, I could make a whole video about his character in this book, because he goes through so much and he has to deal with so much, and it's just fantastic. It's such a good book. He is one of my favorite characters. Another character I loved was Malcolm in Rules for Perfect Murders by Peter Swanson. I felt like I could relate to Malcolm. Not really relate. Let's not say relate, because he kills people. I haven't killed anyone. I felt like I agreed with Malcolm's decisions. Every time he thought something or his opinion was kind of said about something, I just felt like I was agreeing with everything he said. I thought him as a character was fantastic to follow. He was very interesting. So Malcolm in Rules for Perfect Murders is one of them. Another one is Emmett from The Binding in Bridget Collins' book. Emmett was a character I was rooting for the whole time. He's quite unsure of himself. When you read about him as a teenager and his past and what he went through and how he fell in love, that is where he really, really pulls at your heart. Mateo and Rufus, the two main characters in this book, which we've talked about already, they both die in the end by Adam Silvera. Both of these characters are new favourite characters. They are written and adapted. Do you know what? Each character in this book is just perfectly described, developed, the whole shebang. Question number 10 is a book that made me cry this year, and there is more than one. 100% there is more than one. So the book that made me cry the most was A Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. I bawled my eyes out. You can see that in my vlog from the Buzzwordathon. The other book that made me cry, they both die in the end. Another book that made me cry, The House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. Another book that made me cry, these are all for different reasons too, Stay Gold. This made me cry like happy and sad tears kind of at the same time. We Were Liars by E. Lockhart also made me cry. This was quite surprising in a way that it surprised me at how good it was. I teared up so much at this book. I was so shocked by the twist in this story. And I find it really hard to talk about what this book is about. You follow your main character who goes to the same family island every summer. And a major event happens one summer, but she doesn't remember it. All she remembers is being pulled out of the water. She obviously had a blackout. She doesn't remember what happened. It's made a massive wedge and drifted the family apart slightly, so there's a lot of tension, and she doesn't remember what's happened to cause this tension. And also she is in love with one of the kind of teenagers, I guess they are, that comes to the island with the family. So you've got a bit of romance as well, you've got a bit of mystery, and it is devastating and amazing. I don't know if I've numbered these questions correctly. If I've said any wrong, I'll put the correct number on the screen, and all the questions will be in the description below anyway. Question number 11 is a book that made me happy. Now, this book wasn't my favourite of the year at all. I don't even think it made the top 5. Yet, Here the Whole Time by Victor Martins, I felt the happiest reading. This book made me so happy. It is about a gay fat boy that has his crush stay with him for 15 days over the summer, and the first thing he does is yell at him. So he has to mend the relationship from the first day. Not only that, but he has been in love with him, and he is also super insecure about being fat, but quite out and proud about being gay. Beautiful, beautiful little romance. Another book that made me happy was House in the Cerulean Sea by TJ Klune. There's a whole chapter, I think it's like chapter 14 around that, where they go into the market, and it's so heartwarming. Like that whole chapter is like a chapter of happiness. So this book is one of the sweetest books you could ever read. This book is a warm blanket in book form. So definitely this book counts as one of the books that have made me the happiest. And another book that made me happy was The Way the Stars by Kate Ancrum. I love this book. I mean, I love the cover. Look how cute that is. But the book itself is beautifully written. It is a story about a bunch of misfits. However, you've got one of the main characters that absolutely loves space. You've got another character where her mum is actually up in space and she tries to communicate with her. There are space elements. There is romance. It's adorable. It is part of the LGBTQ plus community. Well, the characters are. It's part of the queer lit. This is queer literature.
What am I saying?
It made me happy. Read it. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book that I picked up this year, and that was again another easy one for me. I believe this is the most beautiful book that I have picked up this year, and this is Honey and Issue's Guide to Fake Dating by Abadea. I'm not sure how to say her name. Again, I'm so sorry that I butcher names. I really do apologize, but I think this book is so beautiful. Not just the writing, but the cover, like the whole lot. I do think this question is supposed to be appearance wise, so the cover, that's why I chose this book, but it's inside and out completely. It's full of beauty. Last question, number 13, is books I want to read by the end of the year. And there are lots of them. There are so many books I want to read by the end of this year, and a couple of them I don't own, which are Elatsoe by Darcy Little Badger. I really want to get my hands on a copy of this book really badly. Also The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. Those are the two main books that I'm really after and wanting to read by the end of this year. A couple that I do own are The Wicker King by A. Ancrum and Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I own both of those books. I didn't bring them with me into this pile, but I'll put pictures up so you know what they look like. I do own those two books. Wicker King I know nothing about, and I'm just going to go into it blind. And then Daisy Jones and the Six is a story from a band, and you get it from everybody's point of view, kind of the band discussing what happened with them. It is fictional. It is completely a made up kind of group. So I am very interested in that, especially because it's Taylor Jenkins Reid. That is everything. This video has been a bit crazy because I've got one dog in the window licking my sister's bed because this is her room, and I've got one dog walking up and down the stairs. So filming this has been a bit mental. Also, I have had a bit of a week. Anyway, this is the mid-year freakout tag. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope this was good, and I hope you have a super wonderful day, evening, week, weekend, life. Enjoy. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time, hopefully with another video. Goodbye.